they are coming as the underdogs. They need to throw SK a little bit off. Either that or make sure you get the superior drafts by getting like a superior late game composition, for example. You can't go even in draft and then expect to win against SK just because they are the better team here. They are the favorites.
Yeah, and go back to last season and look at the records between these two teams. They actually are very, very close as well, as are a lot of these European teams, but the record between them is 5-4 in favor of SK. So it was a 2-0s back and forth, and then finally a 2-1 series was in the final week of the season between them. So definitely a lot of familiarity between these two squads.
We see the black for the first pick for Mousesports. We mentioned before that this is a flex pick for them. Both Tricky can play it in lane and Amdadoom can play it in the jungle. And they can play both CP and black for this. So it doesn't really give away too much, even though it's a first pick that's not a captain hero. Lance comes out from SK Gaming, but then they banned Fortress. So they're saying we don't want to play the Vox Fortress Lance composition. So I would have preferred to see them leave that Fortress ban actually, just so that you can threaten Mousesports with that composition that Cruel ban comes through.
Yeah, and it's not likely that Mousesports are going to pick up the Fortress when they already have the Black Feather, but Idris coming through for the side of SK, obviously a very strong pick currently. There's still options available to Mousesports to try and deal with it, but you need to get something that can, assuming that this is going to be a Crystal Idris at that, you need another tool that can dive onto it with the Black Feather and stick to that target.
One thing that we keep mentioning is if you have Black Feather and Celeste is open, you can pick her up just because then there aren't too many counters. And Celeste actually works pretty good against CP Idris just because you end up outranging him. And if you keep your distance, you can win teamfights even late game. So Mousesports could go for it, but at that point they would be putting Amdadoom on open power, Black Feather in the jungle unless they swap it around, which I don't expect. But they do pick up the Celeste. They have multiple options with their captain heroes. They could go for Finn. They could go for Arden that we saw multiple times this weekend. Yeah. I would prefer to see the Finn just because it gives you a stronger late game, but Arden at the same time gives you a stronger mid game and the gauntlets that are very beautiful. SK Gaming, though, they with the CP Idris, we mentioned how Kavalify, this is one of his strongest heroes. We came out last weekend, he did great on it, so I expect great things from Kavalify. They can round it out with multiple things too. They can even play the Lance in the jungle if they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy that they did go for the Arden here, just because, like you said, the gauntlets can be so impactful against an Idris, because CP Idris, while it does have that range, he does still want to be moving around these team fights quite a bit, and if you can position the gauntlets properly, you can prevent him from being able to do that, from kiting away from the Black Feather or diving onto the Celeste. You also have the Vanguard to protect against a little bit of that burst from the Chakrams. So I really like the pick, and I love the draft that Mousesports have. Taking away the hard counter to the Celeste, being able to deal with the Idris, and Weapon Black Feather I think is better into the Idris than a Crystal Black Feather would be anyway, because it's similar to the Celeste where you just want to be able to dive onto him, stick onto that target, use the Rose offensives on top of him, all that sort of thing. And I think actually Mousesports are, regardless of what SK pick as their final pick, assuming that it's going to be some kind of like bruiser type of hero, I think Mousesports have the advantage here unless SK really pulls something out of the hat.
You have to assume here that SK are actually going to go with a Grumpjaw coming on through here. I was going to suggest something like a Glaive, but we need to see early aggression out of SK here, or they're not going to have a chance against this Celeste in the late game. But we've mentioned earlier on today, Black Feather's weakest point is early on in the game. So are we expecting SK to just put their foot down from the word go and get in that jungle, be aggressive?
I mean, his early game is really weak in the lane. In the jungle, it's a little bit different just because he can get a little bit of defensive items and then he can duel back, especially since Grumpjaw is not the strongest early game heroes anymore after all the nerfs that happened to him. I like Mousesports' composition is a little bit multi-dynamic. However, SK, they did get a comfort CP Idris on Kavalifar, so it can go either way. I like the composition better on Mousesports, but SK can pull it with Kavalifar.
All right, we'll see if they can pull it off on this one. It's time to get on into the game. Hashtag Vainglory. Are you supporting the underdogs or the favorites? It's Mousesports going up against SK Gaming. Can't wait to get into this one. It's time to pass it over to our casters and get on into game number one.
Denominate, it is the summer champions here in Europe, SK Gaming up against Mouse, who I have to say, Denominate, are my dark horse to be Europeans, Europe's representation at Worlds. This series here is going to pretty much dictate, in my opinion, whether or not Mouse have the the stuff to take down SK and become that dark horse I predicted they can be.
I think you're gonna fall a little bit shy here, Dowsey. I gotta be honest here. SK is the forever champions, and Mr. Tyra's gonna come and do my fantasy league some good here. So we will hopefully see some aggression out of this Grumpjaw early. Now, as the game goes on, Tricky will be a huge threat on Celeste. We know just how good that hero can be into the Idris if she's allowed to safely be on that back line and force Idris back. But it looks like we might have a fight over the Elder Treant here, Dowsey.
2 versus 3, SK would have to be very, very sure of themselves to go for an all-in fight. Instead, they attempt the steal, but they do not get it. It does go over to Tricky here in the lane, who has that level 2. Going to be very nice as far as the experience is concerned. And now we're going to look to try and punish Kvalifar a bit in lane. Kvalifar knows that this range matchup is an issue early. Book of Eulogies, shielding for himself. Got a scout trap as well. Have to see where he puts that. Just looking to create some vision for his team.
Yeah, for sure. And Justman with the Dragonblood contract here could look to be aggressive in the early game versus Kvalifar. Could potentially look for a lot of damage on him early. And, unfortunately for Tricky right now, he's very low on energy as he's been just spamming away those Heliogenesis. So not going to be able to follow up too much. No energy for a stun either. Now another Elder Treant might get started up here. It is going to look to go to SK.
Yeah, and with Kvalifar roaming as well, they can even look for first blood here. Justman in trouble. He gets stunned, and Kvalifar will secure that. I'm the Doom will snipe away the central Treant. So a 1-for-1 trade, if you want to count that as something you would trade here. But SK with the first blood.
SK with the first blood, but that is 2 Treants going over to the side of Mouse. So overall, pretty even on the gold exchange there. Tricky is going to recall now, get some additional crystal power in his pocket, but not really any additional energy or generation. So for this early and mid-game phase, Celeste will be pretty shy on the energy. It'll be interesting to see. We usually see the lane Celeste go at the Eve of Harvest first just for the sustain, the energy or generation, but it looks like Tricky might be going into that Frostburn first, knowing that he has to keep Tyra's back as much as possible.
Yep, certainly does. This is when the Grumpjaw is the strongest 4 weapon blades in his inventory. Let's see what he does here. We see that Elder Treant respawn once more. So much burst potential on Tyra's, but Mouse pull Tricky down to secure it, and I'm the Doom will be able to pick that one up fairly easily. In fact, giving it over to Tricky once more, really trying to accelerate this Celeste towards a late game. Tyra's is in the lane though. Justman does not pot them yet, not using those flares. Impale won't connect, and Tricky should be safe.
Yeah, Tricky will be safe to go on, and with that Elder Treant, it does top him off on the energy quite a bit, which will give him some more sustain here in the lane. It'll keep him here to make sure he doesn't miss out on any farm. 38 here, approaching 4 minutes, doing pretty good. He's actually a little bit ahead of Kvalifar despite the rotations. But there we see the damage that the Chakram can do if it does find Tricky as he pops the healing flask to keep himself in a healthy position.
Going to be very disappointed in Kvalifar in just a second, I think, Denominate. Last week, Kvalifar bought Frostburn first every time on Idris, and every time there was an argument to be made that Frostburn could be, in theory, a better first item than Shatterglass due to compositions. This game, there is no argument to be made. Shatterglass all the way. Kvalifar will very likely pick up Frostburn nonetheless. He does have the gold for the Shatterglass. Can we hope is the question as he makes his way down to the shop? Or will it just be same old? Yep, Frostburn it is for Kvalifar. Definitely a believer in it here in Europe, and often I will defend it, but not today.
Yeah, no, it's definitely iffy with, obviously you want to get the most damage you can down onto Tricky. I do kind of understand the, could potentially keep Tricky in a kill zone, and as well as could keep I'm the Doom back just a little bit, but now as he's level 6 and has that Rose offensive, it substantially will be less effective onto the Blackfeather. So just looking to keep Celeste in a dangerous position, and actually I do kind of like the slow in this sense because it will make it easier for Tyras to get onto Celeste. So makes sense. I can feel best Chuck, rolling over in his
Judging
grave
you.
right now, but yeah.
Like,
So
that is in this scenario, the Frostburn is all about your allies. It's not about your enemies, it's about your allies. It's about making sure Hegman lands his impales, making sure that Tyros can stick to a target. That is what it's about. It is not about Kvalifar having massive bursts. But here we go, impale onto Tricky. Is going to be Fountain popping out. Tyra's not quite able to get on top of them due to a fantastically placed core collapse. Kvalifar, he had a Shadow Glass, maybe he bursted Tricky, who knows?
yeah, maybe that could have been the case, but you know, again, I think it's about keeping the Lance and the Grumpjaw in a position where they can get their damage down as well. Obviously, Tricky,
He had a Shadow Glass,
dangerously
Tricky was
low.
dead.
If he
All
had a
right,
Shadow
Tyrus
Pass,
is
Tricky
going
was
to
dead.
swallow up the Black Feather. Hegman looking to find the Celeste. Under the turret they go. I'm the Doom, unlikely to escape. Good kill comes out for SK, and with Tricky so low, this should be turret as well going to SK. Tricky has to fall back, can't really even attempt to clear the wave.
Yeah, definitely in a rough position as this first turret does go down. We've talked about it a little bit this weekend, but for those who maybe didn't get the update notes, those first turrets do have 1,000 less health, as well as are worth 100 less gold per person. So still a good objective to take here early, obviously in a position where they can, you know, now make it difficult for Tricky to get his farm. And that's really key for what, you know, what SK wants to accomplish here. They want Tricky to suffer. So we'll just have to see what they're able to come off the back of that. It is Kvalifar working into the alternating current for his second item. So that is something that we will have to consider going forward. But not quite over yet, Dowsy. This still could be anybody's game. Obviously, Celeste has a lot of time to come online still. Almost level 8, we'll have those overdriven Heliogenesis. Frostburn and Eve of Harvest complete for the Celeste. Working into, very likely at least, going into the Clockwork for the third item. I was drawing a blank on the name there for some reason. Will likely be that Clockwork third item. Be able to spam those Heliogenesis. Solar Storms will be flying left and right, as well as Core Collapses will hopefully keep Celeste safe from Tyras, but we'll just have to see how it gets played out. There's a lot of engage from the side of SK.
Yeah, there is a lot of engage from SK, and that is the place where the Frostburn helps them out the most, is making sure that engage is even more threatening to the Celeste. Black Feather really doesn't care about Frostburn. Like you mentioned, Double Rose offensive, Faint of Heart, Frostburn pretty much eliminated from the picture, but Celeste definitely more so threatened by the slow. We do see SK looking to move in, steal away this gold miner. They are going to keep it alive and active as Hegman, the man to tank it up. Mouse want to move in, they want to steal this away, but there's so much damage that can come out of Tyros in an instant. On point, Heliogenesis, who's gonna get it? It's a game of patience and SK to engage onto a Tricky. He gets deleted. I'm the Doom, looking to escape. He will not be able to save Justman's life. Double kill goes over to Kvalifar. The gold miner will go over to SK as well. 4-0 and a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah, a wonderful start for the side of SK, and now they might even look to turn their attention onto the Crystal Sentry as well. Tricky is back alive and is going to be looking to rotate down with his team, but will it be quick enough? Nope, they're just gonna let SK get away with, you know, the majority of the jungle. Crystal Sentry as well, first life now taken. Kvalifar has the alternating current complete, will likely be going into that broken myth for his next item. 4-0, making a strong case for the Frostburn Idris here. This is...
I think it's just CP Idris at this point, Denominate. You know, we have this great argument in Vainglory, Frostburn versus Shadowglass. Twitter loves it, Twitch chat loves it, us as analysts love it as well. But CP Idris is just so strong that it really doesn't matter. That often case when the Frostburn is purchased, the team with the CP Idris wins anyway, because when you get a draft that's focused around CP Idris, you just really don't have too much of an issue. Tyrus has found I'm the Doom here, and I'm the Doom
Oh
is
my
dead
goodness.
Reno. Gets blown up by Tyrus and this weapon-powered Grumpjaw. He is so good at it. Tricky, he is dead. Another kill goes over to Tyrus. That's another thing we haven't really talked about. This weapon-powered Grumpjaw is practically a signature pick for Tyrus at this point. If he hasn't got Samuel, then I have to say Grumpjaw is one of those picks that I really like Tyrus on.
Oh, absolutely, Dowsey. And, you know, he's really had a good performance so far. He is looking to go very likely that tension bow double monocle build that was once made so popular by Von C back in the spring. But, you know, it's still a matter of time. Tricky has his third item online now, so definitely, you know, getting to a dangerous point in the game. And, you know, once that Broken Myth is online...
very strange there. Purchased his Aegis before Broken Myth. He had the goal to really just dig into the Broken Myth there, but really feels threatened by Tricky's ability to output damage. I guess this is SK saying that Tyrus will be able to kind of make up for that lack of damage for the next couple minutes.
Yeah, he absolutely should be able to, but, you know, it is going to be a matter of, you know, if Tricky lives long enough, the fights are going to swing into their favor, as those supernovas will make short work of pretty much any hero you can imagine. Tyra's still quite a bit away from that second monocle, and now it is Kvalifar coming up into the lane. They are going to get a little bit of ambient onto Tyra's there, not a whole lot, but it will now be Kvalifar pushing up the lane. As you mentioned, he does have that Aegis, so not quite the full damage potential that an Idris can have. But, you know, as they turn their attention onto another Crystal Sentry, very well could be looking to save up gold for that item now. You know, a little under 1,000 away from it at this point, so we'll have to see where he can get. You know, about 600 at this point now shy. And once that Broken Myth is online, it's going to be a absolute danger to I'm the Doom. And, you know, the reason being is he doesn't have much shield built yet. And again, the Crystal Idris is very similar to a weapon power carrier where those basic attacks will do a large portion of damage as well as scale up with that Broken Myth, and Tricky taking a lot of damage here, Dowsey.
Certainly does. 600 damage onto him. Turret also going down quickly. Kvalifar just finding openings to throw that chakram into the turret, and Tyrus jumps on in to execute it as well. Turret goes down, Mouse now looking to fight. Tyrus swallows the captain up, and I'm the Doom gets taken on out. Kvalifar now onto Tricky as Justman throws the gauntlet, catches Kvalifar, but Tricky will go down. A double for this Idris. Ridiculous stuff from SK 9-0, looking to take the choke.
Yeah, and they should easily be able to do so. We've talked about it so many times. This Idris does so much damage to objectives. But not only that, Tyra's on this weapon, Grumpjaw, makes very short work of them as well. And one nice thing about this Grumpjaw is the fact that he gets basic attack speed in his kit, so he doesn't need to build it. But as we get into this replay, we see I'm the Doom starts off the fight very, very low. Turret drops. He finds damage onto Kvalifar, but it's not quite enough. A good block out of Tyra's keeps him alive, and they're just not able to find the damage onto Kvalifar. They clean up the ace and then push down that turret. And, you know, now it's just a matter of time. SK is got that Broken Myth online for Kvalifar, as well as the second Tyrant's monocle for Tyra's. And both of these heroes will do a lot of damage onto a single target. And obviously the potential from Kvalifar to get damage onto multiple targets with that chakram. So we'll just have to see how this next fight goes. But with only 2 turrets between SK and a victory, and getting closer to 15 minutes, the next fight could be a determining factor of who's going to win this game.
Oh, for sure, this next fight could just be it for Mouse in game 1 here. As SK hushes the critics and says, Frostburn, OP on Kvalifar. Idris OP on Kvalifar. Heckman just performing so good on this lands, and Tyra's on Grumpjaw. As always, a treat for us. His prioritization on his stuffs, constantly making work. And look at this, Tricky caught out. This Frostbird in this scenario makes sure that Tricky gets no escape. And Tyra's will swallow up Justman to take him on out as well. Great stun against the wall, and Justman won't even attempt to move. He knows he's done. Mouse know they're done. This is going to be SK moving on into the bases the Kraken spawns and turning to take down the beast.
Yeah, a really good position for SK to be in right now. Tricky will be up in 5 seconds and has the Solar Storm available. We could see a miracle come out of him, but this Kraken is being taken so fast. He's pretty much going to have to launch that Solar Storm right now if he wants it. not quite gonna come through, not even an attempt. So Mouse just looking for one fight now to hold themselves in this game, but Kvalifar now with the Eve of Harvest online. And, you know, obviously Tricky with the Broken Myth online. This next fight could be very quick for either side. I think the Idris obviously has a little bit easier time ramping that Broken Myth up. And then obviously the base attacks coming out of Idris, 100% crystal ratio, are just, it's absolutely devastating to try to deal with for Iron the Doom. It finally has an Aegis, just don't know if it was in time, Housey.
Right now, SK moving on in to finish this one off. Tricky has that Broken Myth online. There's Helo Genesis going out, stacking up the Broken Myth, a lot of damage, and I'm the Doom onto Kvalifar. Corlin will catch him, but a great Shiver Strike repositions. And that Solar Storm won't do enough to save Tricky just yet. Kvalifar can't get in the fight. In fact, he gets bursted by a Supernova. Tricky now has to turn attention to this Kraken. It's taken one turret already. Hegman trying to be a distraction for the Celeste as Tyrus wants to move on in, but Tricky, he's not damaging the Kraken. Tyrus, he's effectively make sure the Kraken gets damage onto this turret here. Tricky, he's the only person who can stop this Kraken from taking the turret. It's gonna be close. Turret may just fall, actually. It does. Great work by Tyrus and Hegman to just play a range game against Tricky and threaten enough that the Kraken could finish the job.
Yeah, and now it is a cracked open base for the side of Mouse. So it will be, you know, SK only really needs to find a single kill, and they should have the damage potential to close out the rest of the game. But Tricky did show in that last fight the damage that he can put out now that he is essentially full build as far as the offense goes, as well as a obviously has that Aegis ready to go as well. Able to take Kvalifar down, and that's one of the benefits of the Celeste, is you outrange the Idris and have so much zoning potential. But Kvalifar right now, 9-1-3, and Tyra's going in deep.
Dustman gets swallowed. I'm the Doom gets rooted, and Tricky gets removed. I'm the Doom will find one, but now he has to escape. Kvalifar is just going to take down Dustman where he stands. SK looking to finish the job as the double kill comes through for Kvalifar's Idris. Will they move in to finish the base is the question. That Vein Crystal exposed, and I'm the Doom, the only person who can stop it from going down here. Kvalifar looking to move in onto I'm the Doom. Has those Broken Myth stacks from the previous fight, and I'm the Doom continuously getting slowed. Has no way to escape. SK will move on to the Vein Crystal. I'm the Doom, last hurrah, gets knocked up against the wall. Hegman stunning him up, and SK will easily take down the Vein Crystal. Kvalifar 11-1-3 makes Frostburn once more his premier item, and Mouse go down 0-1.
Yeah, Mouse is getting a drop there, but, you know, it's not done for them as we get ready for game number 2, Dowsey. Mouse will be on B side, and I'm excited to see what they pull together for the draft.
Certainly am excited as well. Will they let Kvalifar have his CP Idris? Find out in the next episode of SK versus Mouse.